in the quiet, rolling countryside of early 19th century Tennessee, something unexplainable took root, a haunting that would become one of the most terrifying and well-documented supernatural events in American history. Just outside the small town of Adams, the Bell family lived a peaceful life on their remote farm. John Bell, a respected farmer and father of 9, had moved his family to Red River, Tennessee, modern-day Adams, in 1804. Their life was marked by hard work, religious devotion, and local admiration. But in 1817, that peace was shattered by a darkness no one could understand. It began subtly, as most true horrors do. Strange scratching sounds on the walls, knocking from nowhere, and whispers in the dead of night. At first, John believed it might be rodents or wild animals disturbing their sleep. But the sounds grew louder, more deliberate, more intelligent. Then came the voices, whispers at first, then clear speech that rang through the wooden halls of their home. Something unseen was living among them. Most disturbingly, the youngest daughter, Betsy Bell, became the spirit's primary target. She would awaken screaming as invisible hands pulled her hair, slapped her face, and threw her across the room. Bruises and welts appeared on her skin with no explanation. Her blankets were ripped away in the night, and her dreams became filled with shadowy figures and echoing laughter. The family, terrified and helpless, turned to neighbors, pastors, and eventually the community at large. But the entity, quickly nicknamed the Bell Witch, seemed to grow stronger with each witness. It quoted scripture, sang hymns, and could mimic the voices of friends and relatives perfectly. Even more unnerving, it began to engage in intelligent conversation, revealing people's secrets and exposing private thoughts. The spirit claimed to be many things at different times. On one occasion, it called itself a spirit from the land between the living and the dead. On another, it introduced itself as Old Kate Batts's Witch, a reference to a local woman who had once quarreled with John Bell over a land deal. Whether Kate Batts truly had anything to do with the haunting remains unclear, but from that moment forward, the entity was forever known as the Bell Witch. Word spread quickly, and people from miles away came to witness the haunting for themselves. The Bell Witch did not shy away from an audience. She screamed in people's ears, pulled their hair, and once reportedly lifted a man completely off the ground. Visitors left pale and shaken, convinced that the stories were real. Among these curious spectators was none other than General Andrew Jackson, the future President of the United States. Jackson had heard the rumors and decided to see the phenomenon for himself in 1819. As his wagon approached the Bell property, the horses suddenly stopped, frozen in place by some unseen force. His men couldn't move the wagon forward no matter what they tried. Then a voice rang out, "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you tonight." The horses began to move. That night, Jackson's men were subjected to slaps, pinches, and torments from the invisible force. One man, boasting he could defeat any spirit, was thrown across the room. By morning, Jackson reportedly said, "I'd rather fight the British than face the Bell Witch again," and left immediately. The Bell Witch's hatred for John Bell became increasingly obvious. She made her mission clear. She intended to kill him. John began to suffer from mysterious ailments, tremors, seizures, and strange fits. He grew weaker by the day. In December of 1820, he slipped into a coma and never awoke. He died on December 20th. After his death, the family discovered a strange vial of black liquid near his bed. The Bell Witch laughed and declared, "I gave old Jack a big dose of it last night. He'll never wake again." The family tested the liquid on a cat. It died instantly. The witch continued mocking John even at his funeral, singing loudly and laughing hysterically throughout the service. Shortly after John's death, and after Betsy Bell ended her engagement to a young man the spirit had violently opposed, the Bell Witch declared she was leaving, but she promised to return in 7 years. In 1828, the spirit allegedly reappeared briefly to John Bell Jr., speaking to him for days about philosophy, the afterlife, and even future events, including a mysterious prediction of the Civil War. And then she was gone, or so they thought. Over the years, many have tried to make sense of the Bell Witch haunting. Was it a ghost? A demon? A poltergeist? Some theorists suggest mass hysteria or psychological trauma, perhaps fueled by guilt, secrets, or religious paranoia. But believers remain steadfast, pointing to the consistent eyewitness accounts, the physical manifestations, and the specificity of the voice. Even skeptics struggle to explain the scope and persistence of the haunting. Today, the Bell Witch remains one of the most famous supernatural legends in the world. The original Bell farmhouse is gone, but the Bell Witch Cave, a limestone cavern near the property, still draws visitors, paranormal investigators, and thrill seekers. Some claim to hear whispers in the dark. Others have experienced equipment malfunctions, ghostly images, or even brief contact with the spirit herself. Whether myth, madness, or malevolent spirit, the story of the Bell Witch continues to haunt the American imagination. It's a reminder that not all things can be explained, and that sometimes the past refuses to stay buried.